Kia ora. Today I'm going to go over the various benefits that growing your own food can bring to the health and well-being of people, as well as our environment. As well as being a gardener, I also come from a social services background, and of all the different programs, approaches and therapies that I've seen out there, I think that growing food is one of the most simplest and effective solutions to a whole spectrum of social problems and health issues. So the most obvious benefit is that growing your own food gives you a free and healthy supply of organic fruit, vegetables, herbs, medicinal plants, and with high costs of living, global pandemics and wars and climate change going on, becoming more and more common, it can help relieve a lot of the economic pressures. But for me, gardening is not only about developing food security and resilience, it's also active resistance. It enables you to break the chains of dependence on the whole market system, that whole circus, and dependence on welfare and all that sort of stuff. The other thing that gardening does is it helps you develop healthier eating habits, healthier lifestyle. You tend to eat more nutrient-dense whole foods, raw foods and greens rather than processed foods. And it gets you outside in the fresh air, doing regular physical activity. You don't need to drive to a gym, and your workout is right outside your back door. It's a workout that all ages can do together. And having a healthier diet and regular exercise means you don't get as sick as much either. As well as improving physical health, it's also good for mental health and relief from the constant pressures and stresses of modern life. It's kind of like a natural therapy that frees your mind and helps you unwind and escape, because you're just totally immersed in like a natural activity where you're just grounded, connected with the soil, plants and nature. And it's an activity that allows you to tap into primal natural energy, so you develop a greater sense of connection to nature and natural food processes, which also helps to re-energize and lift your spirits when you're feeling drained or down. Growing your food also makes you, I think, smarter and builds character, because your local garden becomes like your teacher, and it'll school you and turn you into a scientist, a philosopher, because in order to grow your food you need to understand nature, you need to understand more about plants, soil, weather, the wildlife, ecology, geography, all of that. So it kind of heightens your senses and your thinking to a different level. I had no interest in learning at school, and don't think I learned anything, but it just felt like torture being in prison. But when you're living off the land, nature forces you to learn, to solve problems, to overcome challenges, to experiment, to research, to evaluate different methods, learn from your mistakes. So it kind of forces you to learn to be patient and to humble yourself, because if you fail to learn, you fail to eat. And that's your motivation to learn right there. So when humans fail to understand nature and act like we're kind of above nature and all of that, nature puts us in our place with things like climate change, extreme weather events, with pandemics. The other thing about gardening is that you can totally lose track of time, and that's a good thing, because you can get your head out of the 9 to 5 40-hour work week kind of mode. It helps if, I follow a traditional environmental calendar, which we call the maramataka, and it allows you to sync your gardening practices, your body clock and your whole life to natural rhythms and cycles, so I'll probably cover that in another video. Food is such an important part of any culture, and for Indigenous people who've become disconnected from their culture or language through colonisation, growing traditional crops and resources can help reconnect you culturally and spiritually to ancestral knowledge, practices and values. And that opens the way to decolonisation, decolonising the mind, as well as building economic independence and self-determination. In terms of social well-being, growing food like in a community garden or Marakai project also allows you to build closer social and community ties and social kind of networks, support networks. And when you're able to provide for essential needs for your family and share your crops with family, with the community or with friends, it's mana enhancing. It gives you a greater sense of purpose, sense of respect and value, and that makes it a lot more meaningful and fulfilling than just buying your food from the supermarket. As well as benefiting people, having a garden, especially like a wild forest garden with multiple crops and plants like this one, promotes biodiversity and provides habitat for local wildlife. It's like creating like a mini nature reserve or like a oasis. And the other benefit to leaving it to grow all wild like this is it actually requires a lot less work, a lot less fossil fuel energy. And you basically just scatter your seeds and harvest. And you don't need to use chemical fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, all that crap. Don't need to waste money or time or fossil fuels, kind of mowing useless lawns all the time. So, like I said, it's hard to find an activity or an approach, and I would even challenge you to find another approach that can offer the same range of benefits, like in terms of health, well-being and social change. I probably should point out that it also depends on the type of gardening approach you take. I mean, most conventional gardening, farming and landscaping approaches can still be quite aggressive. They're quite labour intensive and expensive, and so it can end up causing more problems than it's worth. I think the most benefits come when you approach gardening from a more natural, organic or indigenous philosophical framework, where you're not trying to manicure and control everything, but you're not trying to constantly fight against nature, but you're taking a step back and let nature do its thing, and you start going with the flow. So yeah, that's it. Mauri ora.